Hello, my name is Matt Butler. I work in the Eastern Engineering Service Department. I've been with Eastern Engineering for 23 years, and today I wanted to go over some of the basic operations for the HP DesignJet 3800. We'll cover loading paper, removing jams, how to load ink, and show you how to operate the scanner and the touchscreen. Now I'll show you how to load paper on the 3800. The first thing you want to do is walk over to the touchscreen and open the paper menu. On the touchscreen at the very bottom you'll see a paper menu icon. So press that to open up the paper menu. And then on the paper menu you'll see rolls 1 and 2. And you want to press the load button for the roll you want to load. So I'm going to press load for roll 1, and it will start showing you a tutorial on how to replace the paper. Then what you do is you grab the handle on the drawer and squeeze the handle inside and then pull the drawer open. And if you already had a paper roll in there previously, you'll have the empty core that you need to remove. The first thing you want to do is grab the handle on the right side of the roll, the blue handle, and pull up and slide the spindle all the way to the far right. And then before you can remove the core, you need to raise up the lock lever on the left side. Now you should be able to release the core and then set that off to the side. Now we're going to load the new roll into the top drawer. Just a reminder that you want to make sure that the blue lock lever is all the way up and you have this right side blue spindle all the way to the far right. When you go to load your paper, you want the paper to load from the bottom and towards you. And when you go to load the roll, I usually load the far left side of the roll onto the spindle first. And then you can rest the right side onto the black cover inside the drawer. And then grab the blue handle on the right side and push the spindle into the roll, and it should lift it up and grab the roll. Make sure it's all the way flush with the roll. And now you'll see that there's some tape on the roll. Sometimes you can peel these off, but a lot of times you might have to cut through the tape to get it off of there. So I recommend having a box knife, so that you can cut through the tape. Now that we cut the tape, it's recommended that you trim the outer layer of the roll off. That way you have a clean edge when the paper goes to feed. So if you grab the roll and pull about 24 inches of the paper over the top of the drawer, you'll notice there's a cutting blade icon on the top. There's a cutting edge on the drawer that you can use to trim the paper. And I recommend just kind of holding on to the edge of the paper as you cut. Now that we got the clean edge cut, go ahead and lower down the lock lever on the spindle. And you want to turn the roll so that the leading edge of the paper is on the bottom. So now we're going to feed the paper into the drawer. You'll see there's a white arrow inside here where you want the paper to slide underneath this black cover. So if you slide the paper through that cover here, it'll grab it. And then you can go ahead and close the drawer. Now back on the touch screen, you'll see it'll show rolls 1 and 2, and here you can make changes to the type of paper or tell it the length of the roll. So if you tap this tile for roll 1, then you can choose the different paper types. The roll that I just loaded is a standard 20-pound bond paper, so we consider that plain paper. And then you can also put in the length of the roll. So if you tap that, you can go here and type in custom and type in 500 feet. And I'll hit done. And now we can hit finish check. Now the printer's going to scan the width of the roll and detect how wide the roll is, and then make sure that the paper is nice and straight. Okay, we got the green check mark. The roll is successfully loaded. Now I'm going to go ahead and load another roll into the second drawer. So it's the same process. We'll go to the paper menu, and you'll see roll 2. You might have to scroll up a little bit, but below the section where it says roll 2, there's a load button. It's important that you always go through this touch screen before you open the drawer. For example, right now roll 1 is staged through the printer, so if you open the drawer it could cause some paper to jam, so it's always important to go through this menu and hit load first. And this will park the first roll so that you can open the second drawer. Another thing to notice is this white lock symbol. If you see that on the drawer that you're trying to load, that's an indicator not to open the drawer. So it looks like roll 2 is ready to open, so just grab the handle, squeeze and pull the drawer out. I already have this roll installed. It's the same process. You take the lead edge of that roll and feed it up through the cover where that white arrow is. You might have to guide the paper through this black cover just a little bit. Then once it grabs the paper, you can close the drawer. And back on the touch screen, you can make changes like we did on the first roll. We can change the paper type if you tap that tile. And we already have it set to plain paper. And we can put in the length here. And then we'll hit finish check. That roll 2 is successfully loaded, and you're ready to start printing. The next thing I'll go over is loading inks into the printer. The printer will let you know when the ink is low or when the ink is out. If you want to check the ink levels, you can press this button that says supplies. And this will show your ink cartridges. You have cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Looks like our magenta ink cartridge is getting a little low. On the right hand side, it'll tell you the percentages of ink left. So the magenta is down to 10% remaining. If the printer is asking for ink and it's completely out, you can go ahead and just pop out the cartridge and put in a new one. But for demonstration, I'll show you there's a replace ink cartridge here. And it gives you a tutorial on the touchscreen on how to replace the ink, but it's pretty simple. You just go to the ink cartridge and press it in, and then when you let go, it'll pop out the cartridge. So this is your ink cartridge. It'll come in an HP labeled box, so you take it out of that box, and then this is the cartridge that's inside. It's an eco-friendly recyclable cartridge. They're 500 milliliters each. And when you go to put in the new ink, you just put it in the slot and then push it in until it clicks. And then it'll hold on to it. And then on the back on the touchscreen, you hit the continue button. It'll check the status of the ink cartridge and read how much ink is in the cartridge. Successfully loaded. The next thing I'd like to show you is how to replace the maintenance cartridge. These printers have a maintenance cartridge that collects the dirty ink when it services the heads and cleans the nozzles. Eventually this maintenance cartridge will get full and it'll give you a warning when it's starting to get low. So when you get that warning, just give us a call and we'll send you out a new maintenance cartridge. You can check the maintenance cartridge by going to the supplies menu and tapping the maintenance cartridge tab at the top right corner. So the one that we have in there now has 35% remaining. So I'll go ahead and we'll hit replace so I can show you how to remove the cartridge. They do recommend you wear some gloves. It's possible to get some ink on your hands. Usually it's not a problem, but just in case you might put some gloves on. But I'm going to hit start and it'll start walking you through the process. So the maintenance cartridge is on the far left side of the printer. There's a cover here that you open up. And this is the cartridge. You reach in there and this will just pull out. This is your maintenance cartridge. This is what wipes and cleans the nozzles. And this is also where the print heads are capped when the printer's not in use. Be careful not to tilt this too much. It could possibly leak some ink, so just keep it level, and the new maintenance cartridge will have a bag that you can put this in and then you can dispose of it, the old one. The new one, pretty simple. You just slide it into this tray in the back and then close the door. And then it'll automatically read the new cartridge. The next thing I'd like to talk to you about is how to remove paper jams. Usually if you get a paper jam, it's inside the printer and you'll have to raise up this top cover to get the jam removed. And you might also have to open the drawer and back the paper out so you can reload it. The first thing you want to do though is slide this monitor off to the right side. This way the top cover doesn't hit the monitor when you open it. And then if you go to the far left side, there's a lever that you can raise up to raise the cover. Typically, if you have a paper jam, it's down inside here where the print heads run back and forth. So you just want to gently remove any torn pieces of paper that you find inside there. Sometimes the paper might be partially torn across the paper roll. So sometimes you might have to tear the paper the rest of the way across so you can pull that piece of torn paper out. The next part would be to open the drawer and back the paper back out. So whichever drawer you were using at the time, just squeeze the handle and open up the drawer. And you'll probably notice that the paper is still fed through the top of the drawer, so you can take the paper roll and roll it backwards to pull it back through the drawer. And also, if need to, there's a cover here that can be removed if you get a piece of paper stuck inside here. So if you have the drawer all the way open, there's these handles underneath here. And if you squeeze the handles inward, this whole cover will come off. So it's possible to get paper stuck in here. And once you know that that part is clear, then you can pop this back in there. Just push it in and it should clip into place. And then I also recommend trimming a clean edge on the roll. So what you can do is you pull the paper over the top of the drawer. And then if you have a box knife, you can use this cutting edge on the drawer to trim the paper. Now you can go ahead and close the drawer, just leave the paper loose, and we'll have to go through the touchscreen and reload the paper after it checks for all the jams. We'll close all the covers back up. And you'll have a message on the screen that'll say finish check, and when you press that button, the printer will check and make sure there's no more jams remaining inside. Once you get back to the home screen, then you can go back to the paper menu and press load, and that'll let you reload the paper. Next, I wanted to show you real quick how to remove your prints from the stacking tray. The stacking tray on this will hold roughly 100 prints. When it gets full, it'll tell you to unload the stacker and it'll pause the printer. And then when you're ready to grab your prints, there's a blue mark on the stacker that you can pull this forward. And then you can reach over and grab the prints from the side and pull your stack of prints out this way. And then you can just close this when you're done. And then after you remove your prints, the printer will resume printing after you pull these sheets out. Next, I'd like to show you how to open up the scanner and how to clean the scanner glass in case you see some streaks in your scans. Usually if you get something on the glass, you'll know by a thin black line going through your scans. So to open up the scanner, if you look on the left-hand side on the back of the scanner, there's a black and blue lever you can pull up on. This will release the scanner. You can flip it all the way over. And then if you look on the back side, there's 5 glass segments here. Each one of those is a camera. And if you get some streaks in your scans, you can use Windex and a microfiber cloth or even a paper towel to spray Windex on the cloth, and then you can wipe these glass segments. And just kind of wipe the glass back and forth. Also, you want to keep this feeding area for the scanner clean, so just try to get all the dust you can out of there. That will help prevent any kind of random streaks in your images. If you clean the scanner glass and you're still getting lines on your scans, it could be a small speck of toner or whiteout or something sticky that's on the glass. And sometimes using like the flashlight on your camera will help you find little specks that are on the glass. And it could be the smallest little pinhead size piece of toner or whiteout. So if you see something like that on the glass, you can use your fingernail and kind of scrape it off. And then I would go back over it with some Windex. And then when you close up the scanner, you should be able to continue scanning without any more lines in your scans. The next thing I'd like to talk to you about is how to clean your print heads in case you have an image defect in your prints. If you have a clogged nozzle, sometimes you'll see a white streak or some discoloration going through your prints. And so I'll show you how to get into the troubleshooting menu and how to print off a diagnostic print. This way you can see which heads might have some clogged nozzles and how to clean them. So the first thing you want to do is on the touch screen, go to the menu icon in the bottom left corner, and then go to the Tools section, and then to Troubleshooting. In this screen here, you can run printhead cleanings and color calibrations, but the first thing I recommend you do is go to the bottom left corner and go to Print a Printhead Status Plot. When you press that, it'll ask you which roll you want to use, and then once you select the roll you want to use, hit Continue, and it will print out one of these diagnostic pages. This will show you all the different heads, And it'll even show you these grids that have all the nozzles on them. So if what you're looking for is any kind of breaks in those grids, that's a sign of a clogged nozzle. And then once you know which head needs cleaned, then you can go into the print head cleaning menu. And then you can press start, and it'll go through and check the heads and wipe and clean the nozzles. That should resolve your issue. When it's done doing its cleaning, I'd recommend printing another diagnostic plot just to see if it improved. If not, you might have to run a second or a third cleaning. The other thing you can do too, if your colors look a little off, is you can go into here and do a color calibration. So if you go back into troubleshooting, there's color calibration, or there's also a print head alignment. Sometimes that helps. Or you could also do the full calibration, which will run through all those steps. It'll clean the heads and do all the calibrations. It'll take 4 or 5 minutes to do that, but that should resolve any remaining issues you have with your print quality. Next, I'd like to show you how to run a copy through the scanner and make a scan to the network or a USB drive, and also show you how to access the job queue on the touchscreen. You'll notice on the home screen there's a copy section, a scan section, and a job section. Right now, if you feed a document through the scanner, you can hit the copy button. It'll run one copy out as a default. You can also change the number of copies, and there's an options button where you can change settings like the DPI and the rotation, also the color settings on how you want the copy to be made. So what we can do is we'll feed the scan through the scanner. You want to feed it face up and try to center it the best you can. There's some markings on the scanner that will help you guide the print. Doesn't have to be perfect on those markings, just as long as you're close. And then feed the scan through until it stops. It should grab it after a second. Now we can go back to the touch screen and we could enter the number of copies we want, and then we'll hit the copy button. After it scans through the sheet, you'll get a preview on the screen. You can tap that preview to enlarge it. And on this screen here, you can pinch and zoom to zoom in and check to make sure that the scan went through okay. That looks pretty good, so I'm going to hit the back button. At this point, you can keep feeding in more documents. Just hit the plus symbol before each scan, and it'll add more scans to your copy job. If you need to eject the print, there is an eject button in the bottom left corner. That'll eject the print so you can remove it. When you're ready for it to start printing your copies, hit the copy button, and it will print out collated sets of your copies. Next, I'd like to talk to you about how to scan to a network folder or scan to a USB drive. You'll notice on the home screen here, there's a scan tile here. A lot of times it's defaulted to a network location, like this one is set to scan to network folder. It could also be defaulted to an email or scan to a USB drive. There's a send button here when you're ready to scan, so by default you can walk up, feed a scan in, and hit send, and it'll send it using all the default settings, and it'll send it to your default destination. Or there's an options button here if you open that. There's a lot more settings in here for the DPI of your scan, the orientation, the color settings, and how you want it, whether black and white or grayscale or color. There's also presets here that you can use. So for example, there's a black and white scan preset, color maps, color lines. If you have a scan that's got some highlighter on it, mixed content's really good for that one. And then there's also a destination. So right now it's going to a file server. Gives you an option to change the file name here. And there's a file type. So you can scan to a TIFF file, a JPEG, or a PDF. You have color mode. So you can scan to color, grayscale, black and white. If you scroll down, there's some more options for resolution. There's an option for original paper type. This helps a lot with your scan quality, especially if you have older drawings that are faded or they're on translucent paper or they're just discolored. You can change that original paper type. So we have white paper, photo, old, translucent, blueprint. There's even one for ammonia old blueprints. So those help a lot with how the scan will turn out. There's also content type. There's lines, mixed, and image. Image being the higher quality for the scan. There's even more settings if you hit this little gray circle with the sliders on it. In here, there's even more advanced settings for background removal, color removal, background removal, black enhancement, automatically straighten. There's reduced scan quality, reduce scan speed to enhance quality. That helps a lot if you have scans that are fragile and you just wanted to slow it down so that it doesn't damage the scans at all. So a lot more settings in there. There's even a file size setting, so you can compress your PDFs to make the file sizes smaller. You'll sacrifice quality for file size. There's different levels ranging from small to large. And then when you're ready to scan, you can grab a print. So when you're ready to scan, you feed the scan face up and you center the scan as the best you can. You can use the markings to help guide you. And then just feed it in until it stops and it should grab it. It will automatically take the scan depending on what screen you're on. Right now we were in the advanced options screen, so it automatically takes the scan when you feed it. It gives you a preview of the scan. You can tap on it to enlarge it, and you can pinch and zoom to see the scan, see if it's scanned in good enough or not. And at this point, you can continue feeding more scans through, and it'll add more pages to your file. So by default, it'll make a multi-page file. Or if you want it to be single page, you can just hit send after each scan, and it'll send and save each page as an individual file. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus symbol, and I'll feed in another one. And you'll see it'll add another preview to your list there. So here's my second page. When you're done, you can hit the eject button and it'll eject the previous scan. And then you can hit send and it will send and save the file to your default destination. If you want it to scan to a USB drive, there's a USB port just below the monitor. So we can scan one to a USB drive. To scan to a USB drive, if it's not your default, what you can do is go to the scan icon at the very bottom, and then it'll give you an option to choose the destination. So you can see there's scan to email, scan to network, and then scan to USB. So I'm going to hit USB. And it gives you the same presets and settings that you saw on the scan to network screen. So I'm going to go ahead and scan one through. There we are. So we've got the same preview. Everything looks good. And I'm going to hit send, and that'll save it to the flash drive. Next, I'd like to show you how to open up the job queue and how to see what's printing and what's coming up next in the job queue and how to cancel a print job. So on the main screen here, you'll see a jobs tile. If you click that, it'll open up the job queue and the history. Here it gives you the last jobs that were printed, and it'll tell you what's in progress and what's upcoming. You can pause the printing from here, or you can go down in the corner and you can tell it to delete the jobs, or you can also highlight a job and hit cancel. You can also highlight an old job that was already printed and reprint it from the job queue. Well, thank you for watching our video today and letting me take you through the features and operation of the HP DesignJet 3800. If you ever need to get a hold of us for service or supplies, you can reach us on our website at easternengineering.com.